In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. O you who have believed, do not put yourselves before Allah and His Messenger, but fear Allah. Indeed, Allah is hearing and knowing.
Background of Revelation. According to Qurtubi, there are 6 narratives cited as the background of revelation of these verses. Qadi Abu Bakr ibn Arabi confirms that all the narratives are correct, because they all are included in the general meaning of the verses. One of the narratives, reported by Bukhari, is that once some people from the tribe of Tamim came to the Holy Prophet. During their stay, one of the issues under discussion was to appoint someone as a ruler of this tribe. Sayyidina Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, suggested the name of Kibku ibn Mabad, while Sayyidina Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, proposed the name of Akr ibn Habas. Both of them discussed the issue for a while, during which the voices of both became loud. These verses were revealed in this background. Do not proceed ahead of Allah and His Messenger. Surah Al-Hujurat. Ayah 1. The phrase literally means between the 2 hands, but in Arabic usage it means in front of or ahead of. It means, do not go ahead of or in front of Allah's Messenger. The Quran does not say in what matter they are prohibited from preceding him. It would appear that the general prohibition includes proceeding by word or deed. Wait for the Messenger's reply unless he himself appoints someone to reply. Likewise, if he is walking, no one should overtake him. If they are sitting in a dining session, no one should start eating before him. If there is a clear indication or strong evidence that he himself wants to send someone forward, this would be possible. For example, some people used to be asked to go on a journey or war ahead of the Holy Prophet. Respect for Islamic scholars and religious leaders. Some of the scholars have ruled that Muslims should observe the same rule in respect of Islamic scholars and spiritual masters as enjoined by the Quran, because they are the heirs of the Holy Prophets. One day, the Holy Prophet saw Sayyidina Abu Darda, may Allah be pleased with him, walking in front of Sayyidina Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him. He reprimanded him, saying, "You are walking in front of a person who is better than you in this world and in the hereafter." Then he added, "The sun did not rise or set on any man better than Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, in the world besides the prophets." Rule Bayan on the authority of Kash. Full Israr. Therefore, scholars have ruled that teachers and spiritual guides should be treated with similar respect.
O you who have believed, do not raise your voices above the voice of the Prophet, or be loud to him in speech like the loudness of some of you to others, lest your deeds become worthless while you perceive not.
Do not raise your voices above the voice of the Prophet. Surah Al-Hujurat. Ayah 2. This is another etiquette to be observed while in the presence of the Holy Prophet. This verse teaches the believers that they should not raise their voices above the voice of the Holy Prophet, nor speak aloud to him, as one speaks aloud to another in general discussions. The verse warns that neglecting this etiquette may entail nullification of one's virtuous deeds, because this is a kind of disrespect to the Holy Prophet. Thus, when this verse was revealed, the blessed companions, may Allah be pleased with him, became very apprehensive and very cautious. Sayyidina Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, said, "By God, O Messenger of Allah, from now till my last breath, I shall speak to you as if someone is whispering." Ad-Durrul Manthur on the authority of Bayhaqi. When this verse was revealed, Sayyidina Umar's, may Allah be pleased with him, voice became so low that the Holy Prophet had to ask him to repeat what he said so that he could understand what he was saying to him. Siha, Thabit ibn Qais, may Allah be pleased with him, had a naturally loud voice. When he heard this verse, he feared that his good deeds would be rendered void. He wept and lowered his voice. Ad-Durrul Manthur on the authority of Bayhaqi. It is prohibited to greet and speak aloud in front of the Holy Prophet as Mausoleum. Qadi Abu Bakr ibn Arabi says that respect for the Holy Prophet after his demise is just as compulsory as it was during his lifetime. Therefore, some of the scholars have expressed the view that it is disrespectful to say salam or speak very loudly in front of the Holy Prophet's mausoleum. Likewise, it is discourteous to make noise where prophetic traditions are recited, because when the blessed words of the Holy Prophet are being recited, it is compulsory to listen to them silently. In the same manner, it is an unmannerly behavior to raise voices after his demise when his noble words are repeated. Ruling. As the Quranic injunction, "Do not proceed ahead of Allah and his Messenger," applies to ulama as the heirs of the Holy Prophet. Likewise, the injunction, "Do not raise your voices above the voice of the Prophet," is applicable to the great scholars of Islam also. When sitting in their assembly, it is impolite to raise voices so loudly that their voices are suppressed. What 2. by, lest your good deeds become void while you are not aware. Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 2. This clause is indicating the reason why the Muslims are directed not to raise their voices above the voice of the Holy Prophet. They are warned that non-compliance of the rule may nullify their virtuous deeds. According to the axioms of Sharia and universally established principles, a few perturbing questions arise here. First of all, according to the unanimous view of Allah's Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the only thing that can destroy righteous deeds is kufr or disbelief. No sin can destroy good deeds. Here the Qur'an addresses the noble companions, may Allah be pleased with him, and the believers. It addresses them by calling them O believers, which goes to show that they are believers and not disbelievers, so how can their righteous works be rendered void? The second point is that faith is an act of free will. A person cannot be a believer unless he embraces faith with his own free will. Likewise, disbelief, kufr, is an act of free will. A person does not become kafir, unbeliever, unless he adopts disbelief with his own free will. The concluding phrase, while you are not aware, seems to be against this principle. Failure of good deeds is the punishment of disbelief, which ought to be a result of one's own free will, and the phrase shows that the punishment lacks free will. So how can the good deeds go to waste? My master, the honorable sage of the Ummah, has in his Bayan al-Quran explicated the passage in such a manner that all these perturbations are resolved. He says the meaning of the verse is thus: O Muslims, avoid raising your voices above the voice of the Holy Prophet or speaking loudly to him, because in so doing there is the fear that your deeds should be thwarted. The danger in raising your voices above that of the Holy Prophet lies in the fact that it is tantamount to discourtesy to the Holy Prophet, which is the same as vexing him. It is unthinkable that the noble companions would intentionally attempt to hurt him. However, it is possible that certain deeds and actions, such as advancing forward and raising voices, without the intention of hurting, could upset or offend him. Therefore, all such conducts have been absolutely prohibited, forbidden, and regarded as sin. The essential characteristics of some of the sins are such that the people who commit them lose the divine aid of repentance and the ability or capacity to perform righteous works. As a result, he gets so engrossed in sins that they lead him to disbelief, and thus the righteous deeds fail. Likewise, hurting one's religious leader, teacher, or spiritual guide is a sin that runs the risk of losing the divine aid. Thus, conducts such as advancing before the Holy Prophet or raising voices are such sinful conducts that can cause the divine help to be taken away. This situation eventually leads one to disbelief, which destroys one's good works. Because the believer may not have intentionally performed the act of hurting, thus he would not even perceive how he got involved in the process of disbelief and thwarting of good deeds. Some of the scholars have expressed the view that if someone has taken a righteous, holy person as his spiritual guide, then he shows disrespect to him, and such a person may suffer the same consequences. That is, sometimes it becomes the cause of divine aid being removed and of incurring his wrath, which eventually destroys the treasure of faith. We seek refuge with Allah from it.
Indeed, those who lower their voices before the Messenger of Allah, they are the ones whose hearts Allah has tested for righteousness. For them is forgiveness and great reward.
See Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 2 for the Tafsir.
Indeed, those who call you, O Muhammad, from behind the chambers, most of them do not use reason.
As for those who call you from behind the apartments, most of them lack understanding. Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 4. In this verse, Allah Ta'ala has mentioned a third etiquette about dealing with the Holy Prophet. It is directed that when he is at home, one should not call him from outside. Particularly calling him by his name is an unmannered attitude. Reasonable persons would not do it. The term hujurat, translated above as apartments, is the plural of hujra. Lexically, it refers to a four-walled apartment or dwelling, comprising a courtyard and a roofed building. In Medina, the Holy Prophet had 9 wives. Each one of them had a separate apartment, where on different days he used to stay in succession. The apartments of the mothers of the faithful. Ibn Sa'd, on the authority of Ada al-Kirsani, gives a description of these dwellings. He writes that these apartments were built of palm branches, and their doors were covered with thick black woolen curtains. Imam Bukhari, may Allah be pleased with him, in Al-Adab al-Mufrad and Bayhaqi in his collection record that Dawud ibn Qais reports that he had visited these apartments and estimated that from the door of the apartment to the roofed part of the building, it must be about 7 cubits, the room about 10 cubits, and the height of the roof about 8 cubits. These apartments of the mothers of the faithful were included in the Holy Prophet's mosque during the reign of Walid ibn Abdul Malik at his own command. On that day in Medina, People were lamenting and bewailing. 1 cubit equals about inches. Occasion of revelation. Imam Badhowi, on the authority of Qatada, may Allah have mercy on him, reports that the delegation of Banu Tamim arrived in Medina in the afternoon and came up to the Holy Prophet when he was resting in one of his apartments. These Bedouins were not acquainted with the social manners and etiquette of a civil society. They stood outside the apartment and called out, "O Muhammad, come out to us." On this occasion, verse Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 4 was revealed. Musnad of Olmad, Tirmidhi, and others record similar reports in differential wordings as quoted by Majari. Additional notes. The noble companions, may Allah be pleased with him, and their followers showed the same respect and courtesy to their scholars and spiritual masters as enjoined by the Quran for the Holy Prophet. It is recorded in Bukhari and other collections that when Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, wanted to inquire about any prophetic tradition from any knowledgeable companion, he would go to his house and sit at the threshold without calling him or knocking at the door. He would wait there until the companion himself comes out. When he came out on his own, he would ask him about the tradition. However, the scholar himself would say to Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, "O cousin of Allah's Messenger, why did you not knock at the door and inform me about your arrival?" Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, would reply, "A scholar in his community is like a prophet, and Allah has directed us that we should wait until he comes out on his own." Sayyidina Abu Ubaidah says, "I never knock on the door of any scholar any time, but I wait until he himself has emerged and then meet him." Role Ma'ani ruling. In the clause of verse. Until you come out to them. Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 5. The prepositional phrase ilayhim to them is a restrictive phrase, and it implies that people must wait until the Holy Prophet emerges to talk to them. But if he has emerged for some other reason or purpose, even in this case it is not appropriate to talk to him. The speakers should wait until a suitable situation or occasion arises for them to speak. That is, they should speak about their particular issue when the Holy Prophet turns his attention to them for that purpose.
And if they had been patient until you could come out to them, it would have been better for them. But Allah is forgiving and merciful.
See Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 4 for the Tafsir.
O you who have believed, if there comes to you a disobedient one with information, investigate, lest you harm a people out of ignorance, and become, over what you have done, regretful.
Background of revelation. According to Ibn Kathir, it is reported in Musnad of Olad that Harith ibn Dur ibn Abi Durar, the leader of the tribe of Banu Musalik, whose daughter Sayyidah Juwariya, may Allah be pleased with him, was one of the blessed wives of the Holy Prophet, came up to the Holy Prophet, and he called him towards Islam and asked him to pay his zakah. He says, "I embraced Islam and pledged to pay zakah, and said to the Holy Prophet that I would go to my people, call them towards Islam, and ask them to pay zakah. Those who would accept my invitation and pay the compulsory alms, I would collect their alms. I requested that on a designated date of a designated month, a collector be sent to me, so that the alms might be handed over to him." Accordingly, when Harith had collected the alms of the believers, and the alms collector did not arrive on the designated date or even long after that, he feared that maybe the Holy Prophet is displeased with them for some reason or the other. Otherwise, it was unlikely for the Holy Prophet not to keep his promise. Harith, may Allah be pleased with him, expressed his apprehension to the leaders of the new Muslims, and wanted them to go to the Holy Prophet. On the other hand, the Holy Prophet had sent Walid ibn Uqba to collect the zakah from them. However, on his way he thought that the members of that tribe are his old enemies and feared that they might kill him. With this fear he returned to Medina, and said to the Holy Prophet that they refused to pay zakah, and wanted to kill him. On hearing this, the Holy Prophet became very angry, and under the command of Khalid ibn Walid he dispatched a force of fighters in the way of Allah. On the one hand, this contingent was dispatched, and on the other hand Harith ibn Dur with his people was on his way to meet the Holy Prophet. The two groups met near Medina. Harith inquired, "To whom have you been sent?" They reply, "We are sent to you." Harith inquired, "For what purpose?" They narrated the mission of Walid ibn Uqba, who reported to the Holy Prophet that the tribe of Banu Mustalik refused to pay zakah and planned to kill him. Harith said on oath, "I swear by Allah who sent Muhammad as his true messenger, Walid did not arrive in the location, nor did I see him. Since no envoy had come to us at the appointed location, I apprehended that you are annoyed with me due to some shortcoming on my part. Therefore I have come here." Harith says that the present verse of Surah Al-Hujurat was revealed on this occasion. Ibn Kathir, Other versions have it that Walid ibn Uqba did go to the tribe of Banu Mustalik, as the tribe was expecting the Holy Prophet envoy to arrive on a designated date. They came out of their settlement as a mark of respect to welcome him. Walid ibn Uqba, may Allah be pleased with him, suspected that they might have come out to kill him on account of their old hostility. Therefore he returned instantly from there, and went up to the Holy Prophet and reported to him, according to his suspicion, that they were not willing to pay the alms and wanted to kill him. On hearing this report, the Holy Prophet dispatched Sayyid ibn Khalid ibn Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, to make a thorough investigation, so that appropriate measures could be taken. Sayyid ibn Khalid ibn Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, arrived near the settlement at night and encamped there. He selected a few of his men and sent them furtively as spies into the location to investigate. They returned and reported that the members of the tribe were Muslims and believers. They were regular with their prayers and in paying their alms, and they did not find the tribe doing anything contrary to Islam. Say, Ibn Khalid ibn Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, came back and reported the whole story to the Holy Prophet. This verse was revealed on that occasion. Ibn Kathir's summary of several reports, ruling. On the basis of this verse, it may be ruled that if a mischief-monger, sinner, wicked or corrupt person complains about any person or nation, or accuses them of any wrongdoing, it is not lawful to act upon the sole information or evidence of such a person without making a thorough investigation. Injunctions and rulings. Related to verse Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 6. Imam Jah says, may Allah have mercy on him, in Al-Mukhtasar says that this verse indicates that it is not lawful to accept any information conveyed by a sinful person and act upon it unless it is investigated by other sources and confirmed. This verse contains the injunction fatabayyanu, verify its correctness. In another reading, the word tathabatu conveys the same meaning. The sense is, do not rush into taking actions or measures, be stable and stand firmly in your place, and do not be easily moved or shaken. Wait until the news or information is confirmed by other independent sources. Since it is not lawful to accept the information or report of an ungodly sinful person, then the testimony of such a person would not be acceptable with greater force, because every testimony is a statement which is confirmed by a kind of oath. Therefore, according to majority of scholars, a statement or evidence of an ungodly person, in terms of Sharia, is not acceptable. However, all scholars agree that as far as the common worldly affairs are concerned, it is not necessary to ascertain the accuracy or truth of every news and the reliability of every informer. The jurists are clear that this rule of law does not apply in the case of ordinary matters, because the rule is governed by an effective cause which is laid down in the explicit text of this verse, lest you harm people out of ignorance, Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 6. Thus matters which are not governed by the effective cause will be an exception to, and excluded from, the rule of this verse. For instance, if a wicked person, or for that matter even an unbeliever, delivers a gift to someone, stating that this gift has been sent by a certain person, it would be lawful to accept the gift and the statement. Details may be found in books of fiqh, such as in Mu'inul Hakam and others. I have given the details in part 6 of Al-Mukhtasar Arabic version. Learned scholars may peruse them there. An important question and answer regarding the truthfulness of the companions. Authentic hadith verified that this verse was revealed in connection with Walid ibn Uqba, and in the verse he is referred to as fasik, sinner. Apparently, it goes to show that a Sahabi, companion, can be a fasik. This is in conflict with the universally established maxim, the companions are all truthful and reliable. None of their statements, reports or testimony can be doubted. Allama al-Lusi in Rol Ma'ani says that the truth of the matter is according to the majority of the scholars. The blessed companions, may Allah be pleased with him, are not infallible. It is possible for them to commit sins, major sins, which is fisk. At the time of committing the sin, they will be dealt with in the appropriate manner in terms of the punishment prescribed for that act. And if any of them is found guilty of lying, his news, information, report or testimony will be rejected. However, on the basis of the express texts of the Quran and Sunnah, Allah's Sunnah wal Jama'ah believe that companion can, though commit sins, they do not persist in it. There is no companion of the Holy Prophet who has not repented and purified himself after committing a sin. The Quran, referring to the general class of the companions, announces in general terms, Allah is well pleased with them, and they are well pleased with him. Surah Al-Bayyinah, Ayah 8. The pleasure of Allah is not possible without forgiveness of sins. Qadi Abu Yala says that Allah's pleasure is one of his eternal attributes. He expresses his pleasure only for those about whom he knows they will die whilst seeking his pleasure, Ibn Taymiyyah in his Al-Mukhtasar, in sum, from amongst the magnificent group of the noble companions, it is possible for a handful of them to commit a sin sometime or the other, but divine aid comes to their rescue, and they immediately repent. Through the blessing of the Holy Prophet's company, Allah had made Shari'ah their nature. As a result, it was very rare for them to do anything contrary to Shari'ah and very unlikely to commit sins. It was natural for them to dedicate themselves to performing righteous deeds in conformity with the Holy Prophet's paradigm and the principles established by Islam. They exerted such efforts in obeying Allah and His Holy Prophet in all matters of life, the example of which is never found in any of the previous religious communities. In comparison to the uncountable good works, merits, and excellence to their credit, even if they commit a sin once in a lifetime, it would be quashed or would be counted as non-existent. Furthermore, Hadith collections record a number of incidents where the noble companions, may Allah be pleased with him, expressed their supreme love and devotion for Allah and His Holy Prophet. They expressed their highest degree of fear for Allah at the time of committing the most minor sins and repented forthwith. We have on record that some of the companions presented themselves for punishment when they did something wrong, and others tied themselves up to the column of the mosque, and so on. A hadith informs us that he who repents on a sin is like him who has not committed any sin. The Quran says, surely good deeds erase bad deeds. Surah Hud, this rule applies to them with greater force, since their good deeds are not like the good deeds of the general class of people. In fact, the status of their good deeds has been described in the collections of Abu Dawud and Tirmidhi on the authority of Sid ibn Zayd by Allah. Any one of them who participated in a jihad with the Holy Prophet and his face got covered with dust is better than your lifelong obedience and worship, even if you attain the age of new. Therefore, they will receive the same punishment that is prescribed for a sin or crime which they might have committed. However, despite this, it is not lawful for any of us to regard any of them as fasiq. Consequently, if any companion during the time of the Holy Prophet committed a sin or crime which could be the cause of producing in him the effect of fisk, as a result of which he might have been referred to as a fasiq on that account, it does not become possible for that fisk to be regarded as his permanent characteristic to call him, God forbid, as a fasiq for all times to come, rol ma'ani. Nevertheless, it is not at all necessary that in the current verse, Walid ibn Uqba, may Allah be pleased with him, is categorically referred to as fasiq. Despite the fact that the verse is supposed to have been revealed in his incident, it does not mean that the word fasiq is used for him, because before this incident, Walid ibn Uqba had not done any such thing on account of which he could be referred to as fasiq. An analysis of the incident of Banu Mustalik indicates that he conveyed an incorrect information about that tribe which, acting in good faith, he thought was true, whereas in reality it was not. Therefore, the plain import of the current verse would be that it simply establishes the general rule that the news conveyed by a fasiq would be unacceptable. However, it may be emphasized that Walid ibn Uqba was not a fasiq, but his information, because of strong external context, did not seem acceptable. As a result, the Holy Prophet refrained from taking any measures merely on his information, and sent Khalid ibn Walid for proper investigation. If this is the case of the news conveyed by a bona fide, reliable, and righteous person, then with the stronger reason a fasiq news should be rejected, and should not be acted upon. The truthfulness of the companions, may Allah be pleased with him, is discussed fully by this author in his book The Status of the Companions, which is already published in Urdu. It will partly be discussed under forthcoming verses Surah Al-Hujurat, ayat 9 to 10.
And know that among you is the Messenger of Allah. If he were to obey you in much of the matter, you would be in difficulty. But Allah has endeared to you the faith, and has made it pleasing in your hearts, and has made hateful to you disbelief, defiance, and disobedience. Those are the rightly guided.
The Holy Prophet's decision is better. According to the previous verse, Walid ibn Uqba, may Allah be pleased with him, reported that Banu Mustalik had turned apostate and refused to pay zakah. At this, the blessed companions were disturbed and infuriated. They expressed the view that jihad should be declared on them immediately, but the Holy Prophet rejected his report on the basis of strong circumstantial evidence to the contrary. He sent Khalid ibn Walid for investigation. In the foregoing verse, the Quran enjoined that if there are strong reasons to doubt the report conveyed by any person, it is not lawful to act upon it before investigation. In this verse, the noble companions, may Allah be pleased with him, are given one more guideline. Although when you heard the news about Banu Mustalik's apostasy, you reacted the way you reacted, and that was on account of your religious zeal and enthusiasm, yet your view was not right and proper. The decision taken by the Holy Prophet proved to be better measure. Thus, in matters requiring consultation, it is proper to express a view, but it is not proper for you to exert efforts to get the Holy Prophet to act upon your opinion. Although there is a rare possibility that an opinion expressed by the Holy Prophet in some worldly matters comes to be against worldly expedience, and this is not contrary to the station of his prophethood, yet Allah has gifted him with such insight, perspicacity, and discernment which you do not have. Therefore, if the Holy Prophet were to follow your opinion in many matters, you will suffer loss and fall into difficulties. If rarely ever your opinion is right or proper, it is still better to abandon your opinion and obey the Holy Prophet. By doing so, it is possible that you may suffer some worldly loss, but it would not be as harmful as his following your opinion. In this case, even if you suffer any worldly loss, the reward of obedience to the Holy Prophet is a better compensation. Lexically, the word is derived from, and it connotes to commit a sin or crime, and it also means to suffer from hardship. In this context, both connotations appropriately fit Qutubai.
It is as bounty from Allah and favor, and Allah is knowing and wise.
See Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 7, for the Tafsir.
And if two factions among the believers should fight, then make settlement between the two. But if one of them oppresses the other, then fight against the one that oppresses until it returns to the ordinance of Allah. And if it returns, then make settlement between them in justice and act justly. Indeed, Allah loves those who act justly.
Linkage. In the foregoing verses, the rights of the Prophet were set out. They also laid down the mannerism in which he should be treated. The verses prohibited any act that would annoy or hurt him. Now this set of verses, Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 9 to 10, establishes the manners, mores, injunctions, and mutual rights and obligations to be observed in individual and social life. The common value of all these rules is to avoid causing any inconvenience to the members of the society. Occasion of revelation. The commentators have narrated several incidents as a background of the revelation of these verses. Among them is the clash that took place between two Muslim groups. It is not inconceivable that the totality of these incidents might have been the occasion of revelation. It is also possible that one of these incidents has been the cause of revelation, and the other incidents, being similar, were also termed as the occasion of revelation. Although the immediate addressees of this verse are rulers and those in authority who have the means to fight and wage war, as stated by Abu Hayyan in Al-Bar and preferred by Alusi in Roll, Ma'ani, all Muslims are addressed in this verse indirectly to assist those in authority in this matter. Where there is no leader, Amir, king or president, the rule is that the two warring parties should be advised, as far as possible, to cease war. If this is not possible, common people are ordered to stay away from both warring groups. They should neither oppose nor aid any one of them. Bayamul Quran. Related issues and injunctions. There are several forms of mutual fighting between two Muslim parties. Both parties are subjects of a Muslim government. Neither of the parties is the subject of a Muslim government. One of the parties is the subject of a Muslim government, but not the other. In the first case, it is compulsory for common Muslims to bring about an understanding between them and try to stop the mutual fighting. If they do not cease fighting by negotiations, then it is imperative for the Muslim ruler to take measures against them. If both parties cease fighting by the intervention of the Islamic government, then the laws of retaliation, retribution, and blood will apply. If they do not cease, then both parties will be treated like rebels. If one of the parties withdrew and the other persisted in oppression and transgression, then the persistent group will be treated like a rebel group. The obedient group will be designated as adil, just. The detailed laws pertaining to rebels may be perused in books of Islamic law. Briefly, the law comprehends the following. Before fighting, their weapons must be seized and confiscated. Then they must be arrested and kept in prison until they repent. Neither in the course of fighting nor after fighting should their children be enslaved. Their wealth should not be treated like the spoils of war. In fact, their wealth will be held in trust until they repent. After repentance, their belongings will be returned to them. In the above verses, we come across the following directive. So if it comes back, seek reconciliation between them with fairness, and maintain justice. Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 9. It means if the belligerent party ceases fighting, then do not only stop fighting but also think about eliminating the cause of war, and mutual dissatisfaction, so that the heart-burnings may come to an end. All enmity and hostilities will thus cease, and an atmosphere of brotherhood may prevail for all times to come. Since these people have fought against the Muslim ruler, it was possible that they would not be treated by him equitably. Therefore, the Quran lays stress on setting things right between them equitably and justly, so that the rights of no one are violated. Adapted from Van Melkworn with reference to Hidayah. Ruling. If a very powerful group of Muslims revolt against the Muslim ruler, then it is necessary for the ruler to first hear out their complaint or cause of their dissatisfaction. If a doubt or a misunderstanding has arisen in their mind about some matter, it should be removed. If they show such cause on the basis of which it is permissible in Sharia to oppose a Muslim leader or ruler, like unjust behavior on the part of the government, it is essential for the general body of Muslims to assist the group, so that the leader or ruler may refrain from his tyranny, provided that his tyranny is proved beyond any shadow of doubt. Ibn al-Humam Mashari, if they cannot show any clearly legitimate reason for their dissatisfaction, revolt, disobedience, and waging war against the Muslim ruler, it is permitted for Muslims to wage war against the rebels. Imam Shafi'i, may Allah have mercy on him, held that the Muslims should not initiate fight against the rebels unless they first start the fight. Majari. This law applies when it is positively and unquestionably clear that the group is rebellious. However, if it is difficult to determine which group is rebellious and which is just, because each party has a valid Shari argument to justify its course of action, then the pros and cons of both parties may be weighed to determine the party that is just on the principle of probability. If the juristic argument of one party seems to someone more convincing, it is permitted for him to assist such a group. If someone cannot prefer the standpoint of any one of them, he should remain neutral, as it happened in the civil wars of the Battle of Camel and the Battle of Siffin, when many noble companions, may Allah be pleased with him, remained aloof. Conflicts of the noble companions, may Allah be pleased with him. Imam Abu Bakr ibn al-Arabi says that this verse of battle between Muslims covers all cases. It includes the case where both parties prepare for war on grounds of a principle of Sharia. Civil wars of the noble companions, may Allah be pleased with him, were of this nature. Qutubai, quoting this view of Ibn al-Arabi, explains the actual situation of the Battle of Camel and the Battle of Siffin, and gives guidelines for later generations of Muslims to follow in the light of the battles of the blessed companions, may Allah be pleased with him. This author has dealt with the subject in Al-Kamul and in Arabic, and his Urdu book Makam Sohiba. The summary of the discussion given in that book with reference to Qutubai v. 16 p. 322 is as follows. It is not permitted to attribute categorically and with certainty to any of the companions that he was absolutely wrong in his action, because each of them acted according to his own ijtihad. Their objective was to seek the pleasure of Allah. The companions, may Allah be pleased with him, are all our leaders, and it is enjoined upon us that we should hold back our tongue from talking about their mutual differences, and always speak the best things about them. Prophet's companionship is a highly honorable position which should not be violated. The Holy Prophet has prohibited to revile them or talk bad about them, and informed us that they have been forgiven and that Allah is pleased with them. Besides, there is the hadith regarding Say Ibn Talha, may Allah be pleased with him, reaching us through several transmitting authorities, that Talha is a martyr walking on the face of the earth. If Say Ibn Talha, may Allah be pleased with him, was committing a clear sin by going out to wage war against Say Ibn Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, he could not attain the high status of a martyr. In the same way, if his act might be regarded as a failure to perform his duty on the basis of a clearly wrong interpretation, he would still not attain the status of martyrdom. Martyrdom is attained only when a person is killed in obedience of Allah. Therefore, it is necessary to construe the matter of the companions, may Allah be pleased with him, in terms of the principle mentioned above. Another proof of this is available in authentic and well-established hadith, which are reported by Say Ibn Ali, may Allah be pleased with him himself, where the Holy Prophet said, "The killer of Zubair is in hell." Furthermore, Say Ibn Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, reports that the Prophet said, "Give news to the killer of Sayyidat Safius, may Allah be pleased with him, son, that he will be in hell." In the light of this, we need to believe that Say Ibn Zubair and Say Ibn Talha, may Allah be pleased with him, were not sinners or disobedient to Allah in the position taken by them in the battle. Otherwise, the Holy Prophet would not have referred to Say Ibn Talha, may Allah be pleased with him, as a martyr, nor would he predict about the killer of Zubair, may Allah be pleased with him, that he would be in hell. Also, he is counted among the 10 who were given the glad tidings of attaining paradise. Traditions relating to this subject have almost reached the grade of continuity tawir, and the traditions are referred to as ahadith mutawatir. Likewise, the noble companions, may Allah be pleased with him, who did not participate in the battles on either side, cannot be regarded as defaulters because their behavior, conduct, and attitude in this matter was also based on their ijtihad, and Allah maintained them thus. Therefore, it is not proper in any sense of the word to curse them, to taunt them, to hold them as sinners, and to neglect their virtues, their struggles, and their great religious stations. Some of the scholars who posed the question, "What is your view regarding the blood that was shed in the battles that took place among the blessed companions, may Allah be pleased with him?" They simply recited the following verse of the Qur'an: "Those are people who have passed away. For them what they earned, and for you what you earned. And you shall not be questioned as to what they have been doing." Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 134. The same question was posed to another scholar. He replied, "Allah saved my hands from being soiled with that blood. Now I will not soil my tongue with it." He meant that he does not wish to make the mistake of categorically adjudging any one of the groups as the defaulter. Allama ibn Fuwarak, may Allah have mercy on him, says, "Some of our colleagues feel that the example of the conflicts that took place between the noble companions, may Allah be pleased with him, is like that of the episodes of conflict that occurred between Sayyid ibn Yusuf and his brothers. They, despite their mutual differences, did not lose their status of wilaya and nubuwah. The same principle applies to the matter of conflicts that occurred between the companions." Sayyid Nimmu Azabai, may Allah have mercy on him, says, "As far as this bloodshed is concerned, it is difficult for us to say anything because there was a difference of opinion in this regard among the noble companions, may Allah be pleased with him themselves." When Hassan al-Basri, may Allah have mercy on him, was asked the question concerning the wars between the noble companions, may Allah be pleased with him, he replied, "Those were fights in which the companions were present and we were not. They knew all the circumstances, and we do not know them. The matter in which the companions are unanimous we follow, and the matter in which there is difference of opinion we observe silence." Sayyid Namu Azabai, may Allah have mercy on him, says, "We concur with Hassan al-Basri. May Allah have mercy on him. We know that when the noble companions meddled in any matter, they knew fully well why they were doing it. Our task is merely to follow them where they are unanimous, and where they differ we observe silence. We should not on our own introduce new ideas. We are assured that they must have exercised ijtihad and sought the pleasure of Allah. Therefore, in matters of religion they are all beyond doubt."
The believers are but brothers, so make settlement between your brothers, and fear Allah that you may receive mercy.
See Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 9, for the Tafsir.
O you who have believed, let not a people ridicule another people, perhaps they may be better than them. Nor let women ridicule other women, perhaps they may be better than them. And do not insult one another, and do not call each other by offensive nicknames. Wretched is the name of disobedience after one's faith, and whoever does not repent, then it is those who are the wrongdoers.
It means that calling others with bad nicknames is a sinful act, and the real bad name for a person after embracing faith is that he is known among people for sinful acts. Therefore, if a Muslim commits the sin of calling others with bad nicknames, and it is known among people, then the real bad name is earned by himself, and not by the person whom he has abused with that nickname. Muhammad Taqi Asmani, prohibition of ridiculing one another. The beginning part of this chapter laid down the Prophet's rights and the etiquettes to be observed when dealing with him. Then the Holy Qur'an has started mentioning the mutual rights and good manners for the general body of Muslims to be observed among themselves. The injunctions laid down in the preceding two verses related to the collective reformation of the society. Now the current verse mentions the rights and etiquettes to be observed between individuals. Thus the verse prohibits three social evils: ridiculing one another, finding fault with one another, and reviling one another with nicknames. According to Qutubai, mocking or scoffing does not only connote mocking with the tongue, but it also implies mimicking someone, making pointed references to him, laughing at his words, his works, his appearance, his dress, or calling people's attention to some of his defects, so that they may laugh at him. Mocking includes all of this. By the clear text of the Qur'an, poking fun at someone or ridiculing him is absolutely forbidden. Stylistically, the Qur'an has on this occasion addressed men and women separately. Men are referred to as qawm, a word that is specifically reserved for male members of the human society, though by extension the word most often includes the female members of the human society as well. The Quran, however, generally employs the word calm for both men and women, but here it is specifically used for men in contradistinction to the word nisa, which specifically refers to women. Here both men and women are reminded that mocking one another is a disdainful and evil act. They must refrain from it, because it is very likely that the man who is mocked at may be better than the mocking person, and the woman who is mocked at may be better than the mocker. Here the Quran prohibits men from mocking other men, and women from mocking other women. This, however, does not mean that it is permitted for men to mock at women or for women to mock at men. The actual reason for making separate mention of the two sexes is that Islam does not allow free intermingling of the two sexes. Ridiculing each other generally occurs where there is such an intermingling. Therefore, in a Muslim society, it is inconceivable that men would mock a woman or women would mock a man in an intermingling situation. In short, no one dare make mockery of a person whose body, face, shape, and stature are defective, imperfect, impaired, or deformed, because he does not know that the other person, in the sight of Allah, might be better than him on account of his sincerity and purity of heart. When the righteous predecessors heard this verse, they adopted a conducive attitude. For example, Sayyidina Amr ibn Shurabil, may Allah be pleased with him, said that he would not laugh at a person when he sees him drink milk direct from the udders of a goat, lest he should become one like him. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, said, I would not like to scoff at a dog, lest I be metamorphosed into a dog. Quotubai. It is recorded in Sahih Muslim on the authority of Say bin Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Holy Prophet said, Allah does not look at your faces and your wealth, He looks at your hearts and your works. Qutubai derives a legal maxim from this tradition of the Holy Prophet that in any matter it is not proper to pass a categorical judgment on the basis of overt evidence or circumstances, because it is possible that a person's overt actions might seem to be good, but in the sight of Allah, on account of the insincerity and impurity of his heart, they could be bad, as He is fully aware of the inner state of people's hearts. On the contrary, a person's overt actions might seem to us bad, but in the sight of Allah, on account of the sincerity and purity of his heart, they could serve as an expiation of the bad actions, as He is fully aware of the inner state of people's heart. The next thing that is prohibited in the verse is lambs, which connotes to find fault with someone or to upbraid him. The verse says, literally it means, do not find fault with yourselves. But the intention is, do not find fault with one another. Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 11, as is seen in the translation above. This expression is similar to the expression, and do not kill yourselves. Surah An-Nisa, Ayah 29. Although the verse commands do not kill yourselves, it purports to say do not kill one another. This expression indicates that, from one point of view, killing another person amounts to killing oneself. Often it happens that if one person kills another person, the victim's supporters kill the murderer. Even if this does not happen, a Muslim is the brother of another Muslim. Killing one's brother is like killing oneself and rendering oneself crippled, helpless, and powerless. Similarly, the expression, and not find fault with yourselves, means when you find fault with others and upbraid them, others will find fault with you and upbraid you, because no man is normally free from any fault. Scholars have formulated the maxim, you have faults and people have eyes with which they see them. Thus, if someone seeks out the imperfections of some other person and broadcasts them, the latter will do the same in return. If, however, he exercises patience and evades retaliation to his verbal attacks, it comes down to the same thing. If one considers carefully, he will find that defaming and despising one's Muslim brother is actually casting aspersions on oneself. Scholars have suggested that the satisfaction, well-being, and happiness of man lies in examining his own faults and finding ways of mending them. This approach to life will give him no time to find fault with others and broadcast it. How well the last king of India, Bahadur Shah Zafar, has versified it. As long as we were unaware of our own faults, we looked into the faults and failings of others. But when we looked at our own faults, there remained no one faulty in the world. The third thing that is prohibited in the verse is reviling one another with nicknames which are offensive to them, e.g. calling a person lame, hands cropped, blind, or one-eyed, or referring to him by other offensive nicknames. Sayyidina Abu Jabra Ansari, may Allah be pleased with him, says, this verse was revealed in connection with us. When we migrated to Medina, most of us had 2 or 3 names. Some of them were popularized in order to denigrate, defame, or belittle the bearer of the name. The Holy Prophet was not aware of this situation. As a result, he sometimes called them by one of these offensive names unwittingly. The noble companions, may Allah be pleased with him, informed the Prophet that the name offends the bearer of that name. This verse was revealed on that occasion. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, says the prohibition of tanabus bilokab means that if a person committed a sin or performed an evil deed from which he repented and mended his ways, it is unlawful for anyone to call him by denigrating names, such as thief, an adulterer, a drunkard, or any such name. The Prophet is reported to have said, anyone who denigrates a Muslim who has committed a sin of which he has repented, Allah takes it upon himself that he will get the person to commit the very same sin and expose him to embarrassment and humiliation in this world and in the hereafter. Qutubai. Exception to the rule. There are some nicknames, which though apparently offensive, are not intended to defame or insult the bearer of that name, but they rather serve as a symbol of identification. That is why scholars have permitted to attach titles to the names of the traditionalists like a Rajlame, cripple, or humpbacked, provided they are not intended to insult or defame. The Holy Prophet himself named a companion the Hulidain because his hands were relatively long. Abdullah ibn Mubarak was posed a question. In the Asanid chains of authorities on which a tradition is based, we come across names to which are attached titles like Hamid at-Tawil Hamid, the tall, Suleiman al-Amash, Suleiman the weak, Qaid, and Marwan al-Asfar, Marwan the yellow. Are these titles allowed? He replied, if your intention is not to insult or defame, but rather to complete identification, it is permitted. Qutubai. It is sunnah to call people by good titles. The Holy Prophet is reported to have said that it is the right of a believer to call his fellow believers by good names and titles which they like the best. Therefore the use of kunya, agnomen, cognomen had become commonplace in Arabia. The Holy Prophet also favored this, and consequently he himself bestowed appropriate titles on some of the individual companions, e.g. Abu Bakr Siddiq, may Allah be pleased with him, received the title of Atik the Noble. Sayyidina Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, the title of Faruq, he who distinguishes truth from falsehood. Sayyidina Hamza, may Allah be pleased with him, the title of Asadullah, the Lion of Allah, and Khalid ibn Walid, the title of Saifullah, the Sword of Allah.
O you who have believed, avoid much negative assumption. Indeed, some assumption is sin, and do not spy or backbite each other. Would one of you like to eat the flesh of his brother when dead? You would detest it. And fear Allah. Indeed, Allah is accepting of repentance and merciful.
Analysis of the verse. This verse too comprises injunctions relating to mutual rights and manners to be observed in social life. It prohibits three things: zan, unfounded suspicion; the details to follow, tajassus, spying, looking secretly into the faults of others; and give a backbiting, speaking of a person behind his back, which if he heard would hurt or injure his feelings. Prohibition of unfounded suspicion. Zan primarily denotes assumption on probable evidence. In the first instance, the Quran sets down abstain from many of the suspicions, and gives reason for that. Some suspicion are sins. This shows that not all types of suspicion are a sin. Thus it is incumbent on the readers to investigate which type is a sin, so that they may avoid it. If the uneasy feeling and the conviction that something is wrong, someone is guilty, or some danger is afoot is based on partial evidence and not confirmed by out and doubt evidence, it is not permitted to act on it. Scholars and jurists have given a detailed account of it. Qutubai says that in this context zan connotes accusation, that is, a charge of wrongdoing, as with guilt, crime, offense, or blame without any strong evidence. Imam Abu Bakr says, may Allah have mercy on him, in Al-Quran gives the following details. Zan is divisible into four categories: prohibited, imperative, recommended, desirable, and permissible. Distrust of Allah or suspecting his trust is prohibited. For instance, it is not permitted to think ill of Allah in that he will punish him or keep him in calamity all the time without forgiving him or showing mercy to him, thus despairing of his grace. Sayyidina Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, reports that the Holy Prophet said, none of you should die without having favorable thoughts about Allah. According to another hadith, Allah Ta'ala says, I treat my servants the way they think about me. This shows that holding favorable thoughts about Allah is compulsory, and thinking ill of him is prohibited. Likewise, it is prohibited to entertain suspicion, without rational grounds, about Muslims whose outer conditions show that they are good and noble. Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, reports that the Holy Prophet said, avoid suspicion, for suspicion is the worst of false talks. In this context, zan by common consent of scholars stands for thinking ill of a Muslim without any concrete proof. However, if there is a matter in which it is necessary to take a decision in either way, and there is no absolute and clear-cut proof based on the Quran and Sunnah for that particular situation. It is imperative to act on the strength of the best possible assessment, termed in Islamic jurisprudence as a zanul dalil. This is the approved practice in cases that come to the law courts for settlement. In a court of law, a judge has to deliver his decision on the basis of the principle of the best possible assessment, relying on the testimony of people worthy of confidence, even though there is the possibility that one of the witnesses at that particular moment might have lied. The testimony of the witness is based on best assessment and not on absolute certainty. The judge does not have direct knowledge of the facts of the matter, nor is there a transparent text of the Quran and Sunnah. In cases like these where one or the other decision has to be taken, and the absolute knowledge of the reality cannot possibly be attained, there is no way out but to formulate a judgment on the basis of best possible assessment. Likewise, when the direction of Qibla is not known, nor is there a person that can show one the direction of Qibla, it is compulsory for him to determine it on the basis of best possible assessment. If a person has destroyed a valuable thing of someone, and a compensation has been imposed on him, he is liable to pay the value of it on the basis of best possible assessment. The example of permissible zan is like that of a person performing prayers, and in the course of it suspects whether he has performed 3 rakat or 4. He is permitted to apply the best possible assessment and complete the prayers accordingly. If, however, he does not wish to apply this principle, but wishes to act on the principle of certainty, thinking that he has certainly performed 3 rakat, and thus completes the 4th one, that too is possible. And desirable zan refers to having favorable thoughts about every Muslim. That is rewardable, condensed from Jasses. Quote 2 by quotes the Quranic verse. Why, when you, O believers, heard of it, did the believing men and women not think well on their own selves? Surah An-Nur, Ayah 12. This verse emphasizes to have good thoughts about the believers. The following aphorism apparently seems contrary to this rule. It is prudence to have ill thoughts about every person, but this means to be as precautious when dealing with others as one would deal in suspicious cases, e.g. one should not hand over one's thing to anyone without strong reliance. It does not mean that he should regard anyone as a thief or run him down. In brief, one should take precautionary measures in the predicament one is placed in without labeling people as thieves or perfidious. Prohibition of spying. The second social evil that is prohibited in the verse is tajassus, spying or prying secretly into the faults of others. An alternative reading of tajassus with J is tahassus with H. In a hadith recorded in Sahihain on the authority of Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, the Holy Prophet said, "Do not spy on one another. Do not look for others' faults." The 2 words in Arabic are near synonyms. Akfash draws attention to the nuances or subtle differences in their meaning. Tajassus connotes looking into the affairs of people which they have kept hidden, whilst tahassus connotes searching in general, as in the following verse of the Holy Quran. Search for Yusuf and his brother Surah Yusuf, Ayah 87. However, the term tahassus searching, like tajassus spying, could have an evil connotation, in which case the Holy Prophet has prohibited it. The verse signifies that one may take into account what is presented in evidence, but it is not permitted to search for faults that are not overt. The Holy Prophet says, "Do not speak ill of Muslims behind their backs, and do not search out their faults, for he who searches out their faults will have his faults searched out by Allah, and he whose faults are searched out by Allah will be exposed by him, even though he should be in the interior of his house." Qutubai. Bayanul Quran interprets that tajassus spying and tahassus searching include the sense of listening to people without their permission when they are talking, or eavesdropping at their doors. However, if there is an apprehension that some member of the Muslim community may be harmed by some mischief makers, it is permitted for others to spy to protect the innocent and peaceful people, and search furtively for the intentions and conspiracies of such people who are a danger to the society. Prohibition of backbiting. The third social evil this verse prohibits is gibah, backbiting. This connotes speaking ill of a person behind his back, which if he heard would hurt or injure his feelings, even if what was said about him was the truth. If what was said about him was untruth, it is slander or false accusation. The prohibition of slander is prohibited elsewhere in the Quran. In the definition of backbiting, the phrase "behind his back" in his absence appears. This does not mean that it is permissible to say hurtful things in the presence of somebody. This may not be backbiting, but it certainly falls under lambs, which is prohibited in the preceding verse. Does one of you like that he eats the flesh of his dead brother? Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayat 12. This verse sternly warns against disgracing a Muslim and compares it to eating the flesh of a human being. If the victim of disgrace is present before the offender, it is like eating the flesh of a living person, and the Holy Qur'an has termed it as lambs, which is prohibited in verse Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayat 11, as well as in another surah, by saying, "Woe to every backbiter," derider Surah Al-Humazah, Ayah 1. And if the victim is not present, and someone speaks ill of him in a way that he is insulted, then it is like eating the flesh of a dead human being. Just as it does not cause any physical torture to a dead body, backbiting does not hurt the victim when he is not aware of it, but just as eating the flesh of a dead body is an extremely inhuman act, so is the backbiting. Both are prohibited. Otherwise also, speaking ill of someone in his absence is an unkind, mean and malicious act. It is not an act of valor and bravery. This verse prohibits 3 social evils: unfounded suspicion, unjustifiable search for faults, and backbiting. However, backbiting is most severely and harshly condemned. It is compared to eating the flesh of a dead Muslim, thus bringing out the gravity of its prohibition, unkindness, and meanness. The wisdom of it lies in the fact that saying hurtful things to the face of someone is prohibited, but the man, being present, will be able to defend himself. Further, for fear of defense, not everybody will have the courage to utter hurtful things to the face of someone, and usually it does not last long. It is unlike backbiting, where there is no one to defend it, and thus the most mean person would pluck the courage to backbite the greatest of men. Because it is not defended, generally the ball keeps rolling and more people get involved. Therefore, backbiting is prohibited most severely and harshly. It is necessary for the general body of Muslims to defend their brother, if possible, when people speak ill of him in his absence. If that is not possible, they should at least abstain from listening to it, because listening to it willfully and intentionally is like backbiting itself. Some issues related to backbiting. Sayyidina Maymun, may Allah be pleased with him, says that once he saw in a dream that there is a dead body of a Negro. A caller addressed him and said, "Eat this." Say, Ibn Maymun, may Allah be pleased with him, says, "I said, O servant of God, why should I eat this?" The caller replied, "Because you have been backbiting a certain person's Negro slave." Say, Ibn Maymun, may Allah be pleased with him, said, "By God, I did not do that." The caller replied, "Yes, you did. You listened to people backbiting him and remained silent as if you were in agreement with them." After this dream, Ibn Maymun, may Allah be pleased with him, composed himself, and he himself stopped backbiting, and he did not allow anyone else in his presence to backbite. In a narration of Sayyidina Anas ibn Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, relating to Holy Prophet's experience of Mi'raj, the Messenger of Allah said, "When I was taken up to the heaven, I passed by people who had fingernails of copper, and were scratching their faces and breasts violently. I asked Jibril, who are these people? He replied, they are those people who were given to backbiting their brothers and who aspersed their honor." Transmitted by al-Baghawi as cited in Majari. Sayyidina Abu said, and Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, report that the Holy Prophet has said, "Backbiting is worse than adultery." The noble companions, may Allah be pleased with him, inquired, "How so, Messenger of Allah?" He replied, "A person may commit fornication, repent of it, and his sin is forgiven. But the sin of backbiting is not forgiven unless the injured party forgives." Transmitted by Tirmidhi and Abu Dawud as cited in Majari. This hadith indicates that backbiting is not only a violation of the divine right, but also a violation of human right. Therefore, it is necessary to seek the forgiveness of the injured party. Some of the scholars express the view that backbiting does not become a human right unless the injured party comes to know about it. Therefore, seeking his pardon is not necessary, quoted in Ruhul Maani from Hassan al-Qayyadi, Ibn Us, Sabah, and Nawawi, Ibn As-Salah, Az-Zarashi, Ibn Abdul Bar from Ibn al-Mubarak. This is quoted in Bayan al-Quran and explained as follows: if the victim of backbiting is not aware that someone has spoken ill of him, it might not be necessary for the backbiter to beg pardon of the victim, but it is necessary that he falsifies himself before the person whom he addressed when backbiting, or at least confesses his guilt before him. If the victim is dead or has disappeared, the atonement is recorded in a narration of Sayyidina Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, where the Holy Prophet has said, the atonement of backbiting is to invoke forgiveness of Allah for the victim in the following words: "O Allah, forgive our sins and his sins." Transmitted by Bayhaqi and cited in Majari. Ruling: it is prohibited to backbite children, insane and non-Muslim citizens of an Islamic state, because hurting them is prohibited. Hurting hard by infidels who are the inhabitants of Darul Harb hostile country is not prohibited. However, backbiting them, on account of wastage of time, is makruh and reprehensible. Ruling. Backbiting does not only connote speaking ill of a person behind his back, but it also connotes an action or pointed reference to him, as for instance if someone imitates the limp or uneven walking of a lame person to make fun of him. It is not permitted. Ruling. Some narrations show that the general prohibition of backbiting in the verse is subject to exceptions in special cases and specific circumstances. It is permitted if the need for backbiting is real and genuine from the Sharia point of view. Examples are as follows: a complaining against a tyrant before a person who can relieve him from the tyranny and injustice. B. Complaining about the wife and children to the father and husband who can put them right. C. Giving a full account of the case in order to obtain a fatwa, ruling of Sharia. D. Warning the Muslims of the mischief of a mischief, monger so that they may ward off the evil. E. When someone consults another person in any matter, it is obligatory for him to apprise him of all aspects, including weaknesses, so that he is not deceived because of ignorance. F. If a person commits sins openly and publishes his ungodly behavior himself, it is not prohibited to make mention of his bad deeds. However, it is abominable and reprehensible to indulge in it on account of wastage of time in Al-Qur'an with reference to role ma'ani. But the necessary condition for invoking these exceptions is that speaking ill of someone is not with the intention of insulting or disgracing him, but only to fulfill a genuine need.
O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female, and made you peoples and tribes that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Indeed, Allah is knowing and acquainted.
All of mankind are the children of Adam and Hawa in the preceding verses. 6 social evils in connection with human and Islamic rights were prohibited, and principles of good manners were laid down to be observed in social life. The current verse proceeds to set down the basis of an all-comprehensive and all-pervading principle of human equality. It has firmly laid the axe at the false and foolish notions of superiority born of racial arrogance or national conceit. All men have been created from a single male Adam and a single female Hawa, as human beings. Therefore, all people are the descendants of Adam and Hawa and have been declared equal in the sight of Allah. No one is allowed to take pride nor to degrade others on the basis of pigment of his skin, the amount of wealth he possesses, or by his rank or by his social status, descent or pedigree, but by his moral uprightness and the way he discharges his obligations to Allah and man. The entire human race is but one family. Division into nations, tribes, and sub-tribes of all sizes and races is meant only to give a better identification of one another. Circumstances of revelation. This verse was revealed on the occasion of the conquest of Mecca. When it was time for prayer, the Holy Prophet asked, say, Ibn Abil, may Allah be pleased with him, to call the adhan. One of the pagan Quraysh cynically remarked, Thank God that my father died before this happened, and he did not have to see this bad day. Harith ibn Hisham remarked, Could Muhammad not find anyone better than this black crow to sound the adhan in the sacred mosque? Abu Sufyan said, I do not wish to utter anything for fear that the Master of the heavens will inform him. Thus Jibril came down and informed the Holy Prophet about this conversation. The Holy Prophet called them and asked them about it. They admitted. At this, the current verse was revealed. Taqwa of Allah is the basis of honor. This verse made it plain that human beings can earn honor on account of their faith and righteousness. The immediate application of the verse was to say, Ibn Abil, may Allah be pleased with him, and therefore the Holy Prophet said to those people, You are empty, i.e. you have no moral leg to stand on. Say, Ibn Abil, may Allah be pleased with him, on the other hand, is equipped with high moral qualities, and he is better and more honorable than any of you. Baghawi as cited in Mejari. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, reports that on the day when Makkah was conquered, the Holy Prophet performed tawaf, circumambulation of Kaaba, in the state of riding on his she-camel, so that all the people could see him. Then, having completed his tawaf, he delivered a sermon in which he said, O people, Allah has removed from you the pride of Jahiliyyah and its arrogance. People are of 2 types, a man who is righteous, fearful of Allah, and he is honorable to Allah, or a man who is sinful, wretched, and he is disgraced and little to Allah, Tirmidhi, he and Baghawi. Then he recited the current verse. Say, Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, says, For people honor lies in wealth, whilst in the sight of Allah it lies in righteousness. Analysis of important words in the verse. The word shu'ab is the plural of shab, which refers to a large group of persons of the same origin, like a nation, and it consists of clans and tribes. The largest group in this arrangement is called Sad, and the smallest is called Ashura. Abu Ruwaq says that the words shu'ab and shab refer to non-Arab nations whose lineage is not preserved, whilst kabel refers to Arabs whose lineage is well preserved. The word asmat is used to refer to the children of Israel. Lineal, national, and linguistic division of mankind. The underlying divine wisdom is identification. The Quran in this verse has made it clear that Allah has created all mankind from a single mother and a single father, and made them into a single brotherhood. But He has divided them into different tribes, nations, races, lineage and language, speakers, linguistic groups. The underlying divine wisdom in such a division is mutual identification. For example, if there are two persons bearing the same name, they could be differentiated by family name. It can also show the near and remote relations. Their Shari rights can be fulfilled on the basis of near and distant lineage. It is incumbent to determine the near and remote adnate heirs when applying the law of succession or dividing the estate of a deceased. In short, reference to one's lineage for the purpose of identification is not deemed to be pride and conceit.
The Bedouins say, "We have believed." Say, "You have not yet believed," but say instead, "We have submitted," for faith has not yet entered your hearts. And if you obey Allah and His Messenger, He will not deprive you from your deeds of anything. Indeed, Allah is forgiving and merciful.
Sequence of verses in the Surah. In the preceding verses of the Surah, it was stated that the basis of honor in the sight of Allah is righteousness, which is an inner quality, and Allah alone knows it. It is improper for any man to claim self-sanctification. In the current set of verses, it is stated, on account of a particular incident, that the real basis of faith is the inner acceptance of the heart. Mere lip service to faith does not count the person as a faithful believer. In the entire Surah, first the rights of the Prophet were set out, and then the rules of how to respect and honor him. Next, the individual and collective rights and rules of mannerism were set down to be applied in social life. Now, at the conclusion of the Surah, it is reiterated that in the hereafter good deeds will be accepted and rewarded on the basis of faith, sincere belief of the heart, and obedience to Allah and His Messenger. Circumstances of revelation. According to Imam Baghawi, this verse was revealed in connection with the tribe of Banu Asad. A few members of that tribe came up to the Holy Prophet in Medina during a severe drought. These people were not sincere believers. They had expressed their Islam merely to demand financial help from the Muslim Sadaqah funds. As they were not believers, in the real sense of the word, they were unaware of Islamic injunctions and manners. They spread filth and excrement on the streets of Medina. In the marketplaces, they increased the prices of necessary items. First, they made a false claim of faith in the presence of the Holy Prophet. Second, they wanted to deceive him. And third, they regarded their Islam as a favor to him. They said, "We embraced Islam without any conflict. We did not fight against you as did other tribes for a length of time, and then they became Muslims, therefore you should value us." This was a sort of disrespect to the Messenger, because they considered their Islam as a favor to him. Their sole purpose was to derive financial aid from the Muslim Sadaqat funds, enrich themselves and eradicate their poverty. True and sincere faith is the most precious possession of the Muslim. By accepting Islam, he does no show favor to anybody. On the contrary, it is a favor of Allah that he is guided to the truth. On this occasion, the current set of verses was revealed in which their false claim is refuted, and they have been taken to task for boasting of their so-called kindness and favor conferred upon the Holy Prophet. Say, "We have surrendered." Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 14. They had not achieved the reality of faith. Thus they were claiming falsely to be Muslims on the basis of their outward actions. The Quran first negates their false claim of faith. You cannot claim amana, "We have come to believe." The most you can say is Aslamna, "We have surrendered," because the literal meaning of Islam is to recite the kalima of Islam, enter the fold of the religion, and surrender. Obviously, being devoid of the true spirit, this kind of Islam is mere superficial, not real and total. As far as faith is concerned, it is related to the real belief by heart. Therefore, mere verbal claim or lip profession is meaningless, if it is not supported by the heart. Lexical and technical analysis of the concepts Islam and Iman. The foregoing discussion clarifies that the term Islam in this verse bears the literal meaning of outward submission and not the technical sense. Therefore, the verse does not show the technical difference between the terms Islam and Iman. The two terms technically connote different senses. Iman, in the technical sense of Sharia, refers to the belief by heart and thus connotes a firm and unshakable belief in the oneness of Allah and in His. Islam, on the other hand, stands for complete surrender and obedience to Allah and His Messenger. However, Islam and Iman of a person need to complement each other. In Sharia, the belief of the heart must manifest itself by performing deeds outwardly, the least degree of which is to proclaim the kalima of Islam verbally. But the outward performance of deeds is not recognized by Sharia unless the faith goes deep down into his heart. Otherwise, it would be hypocrisy. Thus, in the original and final analysis, Islam and Iman are different concepts. Iman is the inner quality of the heart and manifests outwardly, whilst Islam starts out in outward actions and culminates in the inner sincere affirmation of the heart. But in terms of their goal, they are mutually necessary and complementary in that a man without Islam is not possible, nor is Islam possible without man. Hence, it is not true to say that Muslim and Mu'min are antonyms and mutually contradictory concepts. In Sharia, it is not possible for a person to be a Muslim but not a Mu'min, or be a Mu'min but not a Muslim. However, this is possible only lexically, as is the case of all hypocrites who used to be treated like Muslims because of their outward obedience of Islamic injunctions, but their hearts were devoid of sincere faith, belief, and affirmation. They were not believers. Allah, the pure and exalted, knows best.
The believers are only the ones who have believed in Allah and His Messenger, and then doubt not, but strive with their properties and their lives in the cause of Allah. It is those who are the truthful.
See Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 14, for the Tafsir.
Say, would you acquaint Allah with your religion, while Allah knows whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth, and Allah is knowing of all things?
See Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 14, for the Tafsir.
They consider it a favor to you that they have accepted Islam. Say, do not consider your Islam a favor to me. Rather, Allah has conferred favor upon you, that He has guided you to the faith, if you should be truthful.
See Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 14, for the Tafsir.
Indeed, Allah knows the unseen aspects of the heavens and the earth, and Allah is seeing of what you do.
See Surah Al-Hujurat, Ayah 14, for the Tafsir.